You're listening to Unmuted with Papamutes.
New York Times best-selling author. In other words, do you get notified? Hey, Julie, this is Joe Smith, and I know it's probably a number of sales and stuff, but how are you officially given that so you can actually promote yourself that way and not being fraudulent?
Um, the list generally comes out to publishers, editors, industry people first on Wednesdays. It usually hits around 1 to 2 p.m. my time. And so if you're on the list, your editor will call you. Your editor will call you and be like, guess what? And it's all very exciting and, lots of screaming and yelling and jumping up and down.
Like
And
winning the
then,
Oscar. I mean, it's like,
yeah, I mean,
hey.
and it's based on sales for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not, it's a very, no one can really figure out how it's all weighted and how it works. The New York Times likes to be very mysterious about that. And so, it's kind of hard. It's hard to know, but it is for sure based on sales. But how they weight different sales at different, outlets, they keep that kind of hush hush.
It's awesome. I mean, it has to be thrilling to be able to put that in front or behind your name. It's great.
Definitely.
Besides the talent to write, what other qualities does a wannabe writer need besides talent, obviously? What else would they have to get books published and the whole process?
You really just have to be persistent. You have to understand that there's a lot of rejection in this
Hmm.
industry. A lot of agents say no, a lot of editors say no, a lot of publishers say no, a lot of readers say no. And so you have to be always working um, on your next idea. So I think the mistake I see a lot of writers who are early in their career making, who aren't yet agented, who aren't yet published, uh, attached to one idea and insist that this idea is their best idea. And my experience is always, if one idea isn't working, you got to come up with another one. If you get a call with an agent who maybe wants to represent you, one of the questions they're going to ask you is, what else are you working on? What other ideas do you have? Because they don't want to work on just one book, they want to work on a lot of books. So you need to have ideas ready to go. And if one isn't working, if you keep getting no, 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 I mean, I do think sticking with it and revising it and taking notes and keeping on with that process is important. But there does come a time where you need to say, I think I got to try something different.
Right, got to move on. Do you think writing can be taught? And I don't mean formatting paragraphs and stuff. I'm talking about creative writing. Do you feel someone who, I don't know, is not creative can be taught to be creative?
I do.
Really?
I think that you have to understand what your own voice is and figure that out. And for some people, that takes a long time. But I definitely think that by studying excellent writing, you can also become an excellent writer, by looking at some of the great authors out there and really taking their books apart and figuring out what makes them work so well, and also reading books that aren't very well written can also teach you a lot. So if you're not liking a book and you're a writer, I would encourage you to finish it and try to figure out what didn't work and what would you have done differently to make it work. I think that's an important exercise to take. Um, and that will just build your skills. But I think, if you read a lot, you don't need to go get an MFA, you don't need to do any kind of graduate work to be a successful author. I mean, I don't have my MFA.
Okay.
um, but I think that, if you want to write, you have to read heavily, 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 heavily. You need to read a lot, because that's how you're going to see what's selling. That's how you're going to see what works. That's how you're going to get a feel for the way books are paced and marketed. And, finding your own voice is all a part of exploring other people's voices.
Excellent. Now, who do you read?
I read everything. I love all different genres. I write thrillers, but I love reading upmarket women's fiction. I love historical fiction. I love some light fantasy every now and then. Um, yeah, I'll read anything.
Okay. Now, when do you read? But the reason I'm saying it, if you're in the midst of writing, I mean, writing. I'm not a writer, but it's hard. I mean,
Yeah,
to me, I'm reading books. I'm like, Jesus, how do they? It's a hard thing to do. Can you be in the midst of writing and like I don't know, put it down and Saturday afternoon read somebody else's book, or is that
I can. I mean, I do my writing in the morning when my mind is fresh and open and kind of a little bit softer than it is in the afternoon. And so I mostly read in the afternoons. I'll read sometimes at lunch, and I'll definitely read after work in the evenings, and on weekends. I like to read, so I'm reading a lot. You
so it
know, it,
doesn't like you're reading like oh God that
I mean, they're two very separate parts of my brain and two very separate parts of my day. And I haven't had that problem.
have you
Yeah,
had any books optioned for TV?
I have. All three of my books have been optioned.
Now, when you say option, correct me if I'm wrong. That's like they're looking at it. They're considering it, or is it beyond that stage?
Yeah, an option means that a studio or a producer or both would like the option to turn your book into a TV series or a film. And so they will pay you some money to hold on to that option so that nobody else can make it, right? It's almost like they're renting your story idea for a certain amount of time. And in that time, their work is to find a writer for the project, maybe find a studio for the project if it's just a producer that's not attached to a studio.
Mm-hmm.
It often will involve, getting other people to sign on to the project as well. Options are often renewed. So, like if they don't do it within a set period of time, they can renew the option for another set period of time if they feel like that is something that they keep wanting to pursue. Um, and so when they have all of those things in place, it would require, a pilot to be written, maybe even, a full outline for, if it's a series, multiple, how the series is going to begin, middle, end, like an outline for all of that. And then a studio needs to say, like, yeah, we want to make it, and then it goes into production, and at that point they buy it, which is a different amount of money.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, just
Yeah,
knowing it's there, it's like wow, this is
yeah,
that
yeah.
is
I mean,
super.
it's thrilling. It's nice to know that, people envision your books on a big or a small screen. Like, that's just really exciting.